Welcome, guys, to another very special episode of the Spring Forward podcast. I am your host, Spring Richardson-Perry, and our little co-host is back, Little Miss Winter. And we are in for a very special episode. She's saying, hey, everybody. We have a very special episode lined up today in honor of Women's History Month. We are celebrating phenomenal women in history. And the kids are out, so you might see a kid or two pop their head on here as well. So we're we're just there you go. There's another one for you. We're just doing it here today live at home in the office. I really wanted to share some great things that these women are doing. So tune in on Thursday, every Thursday at 6 p.m. during the month of March, so that you can see what these phenomenal women are doing. And when you see them do it, it is possible for you to do it as well. So without further ado, I want to introduce the first person who you're going to see on here. It is Michelle Cummings. She is the CEO and managing director of Hedge Security Solutions. She works side by side with retired military and police officers to help schools, houses of worship, and then other places that are considered soft targets to protect themselves against active shooters. When I interviewed her, guys, the work that she is doing is just absolutely amazing. It is phenomenal. And so take a look at what some of the things that she's doing. Now, mind you, this is an interview that she and I did already. So while I am coming to you live, this interview that she did is not, but you can see the full interview on the Spring Forward Podcast YouTube page. So I will have that posted for you later on this week. I'll put that up so you can see the full interview. But again, like I said, without further ado, it is Michelle Cummings. She is the CEO and managing director of Hedge Security Solutions. So here we go. And bear with me, y'all, because I'm the production team today. So, like I said, this is just very raw and uncut, but just very authentic. I wanted to bring you guys just some of the things that bring me joy. And in podcasting, I get to meet so many different people. So I wanted to just give you guys a glimpse of that. So here we go. Hang on 1 second. Let me get this pulled up. Hello, Michelle.
Hi, how are you?
I am well. How are you?
I'm good. I appreciate you having me on today.
I'm excited to talk about this. We're going to be talking about situational awareness. And this is something that is extremely important, especially when it comes to the safety of our babies in the school system, and just in general, even in airports at times where there can be threats and those sorts of things. And so I'm eager to really jump right in. So I really kind of want to start with your journey and just how you came about to this line of work.
So I have done a lot of things in my life, but I really started out, very young and going into the Army. And so I'm really thankful for the experience that I had and the training that I received there. And then went on to the Army National Guard in Tennessee, where I went to Officers Academy. And then while I was there, the Columbine shooting happened. And that was the first time I'd really experienced a school shooting, a mass shooting event. And it really touched me deeply because I had just become a mother, so you remember those moments. And then after I graduated college, I moved to Huntsville, Alabama, where I got a job with the Arsenal. And while I was there, then the next shooting that I remember happened. And it was at the University of Alabama at Huntsville, where Amy Bishop, one of the professors, she shot her colleagues. And she shot 6 people, and 3 of them passed away. And so by this time, I'm thinking, this is too close to home for me. I saw more and more violence and these innocent people being killed. I felt compelled to take action. And that's when I began talking with retired police officers and retired military about what the conversation needs to be, what needs to be talked about. And they agreed with me that the message needs to be awareness and prevention at the forefront. And so that created the journey that I went on with the retired police officers on my side to bring forth that message of proactively preventing these events. And so then we opened up our doors to provide those services that are going to address the increasing need for security, crime prevention assessments, and training for staff at different organizations, because we believe that the best defense is a great offense. And so we focus on those services that are going to keep a facility from being a soft target for intruders. And then we provide ongoing training for organizations to make sure that they maintain that level of security.
Yeah. And so I like this because you're helping organizations to be preventative and proactive as opposed to being reactive.
Exactly. And that's what really, all of these organizations need to think about. And you exponentially create a larger security team by getting everybody involved in the whole security picture.
Yeah, that's so true. I remember, just something as simple as a fire drill, right? And making sure that when you're in the school building, having a fire drill ensures that if something happens in the school, you know how to get out safely. And so it's unfortunate that now in this time we have to think about active shooter scenes, but the kids are now having these sorts of drills in their schools as well. And so, it's unfortunate that we have gotten to that point. I remember Columbine as well. I was very young at the time when it happened, but I vividly remember this because this was the first time in the media that we had ever heard in this country of such a tragedy of that magnitude of someone, shooting up a school with kids. And so it just brought so much awareness to those types of situations. And it shed a big light at that time on mental health awareness also. So I want to jump into what situational awareness is. Can you elaborate on what that means and why it's crucial for everyone to be well versed in it?
So situational awareness, it applies to everyone, everywhere, in all situations. That's what's really great about it. It's something that is going to keep everyone safe. So whether you're going to the grocery store or whether you're walking out of your workplace or whether you're at the gas station, and this applies to everyday life, not just in your workplace. But basically, we need to be aware of what's going on around us at all times. It is extremely important, and especially nowadays, our distraction is our phone, right? We're in our phone all the time. And there's been research done that when you're walking and texting, you lose 48% of the visual cues around you. And so ladies need to be aware. If you're walking down the street and you're looking at your phone, you don't notice the guy that's lingering behind you and walking and following you. And I actually just recently had that moment that actually happened to me in a grocery store. And it was to the point where I noticed that everywhere I was, he'd come up and talk to me a little bit. Sometimes men will come up to you like they're approaching you, and wanted to chat with you. And then I noticed that he was everywhere. And I was with my son. I wasn't trying to make a big deal about it. But then I noticed then that he was at the front of the store. And it appeared that he was, through the checkouts. He was on the other side of the checkouts. But then when I got in the line, he got in the line behind me. And so that threw red flags. So then when I got done with, my purchase, I acted like I wasn't paying attention to him. And as I was walking out with my son, I said, "Do you see that man behind us?" Without really looking at him. I said, "I do believe that he is following us through the store. We are going to push our groceries to the car. We're going to get in the car and we're going to leave." And so then right after I said that and got in the car, I noticed the man coming out and really paying attention to, where we were and everything else. But luckily I got out of the parking lot. quickly, in traffic where he would not notice, where I was or, trying to follow me home. But we really have to pay attention. These things are happening every single day. This is in our everyday lives. This isn't just in our workplace. But if you, in the workplace, we have to follow these steps. We have to have a perception of the situation. And that is simply paying attention to what is going on around you. If you get a bad feeling, that is something you need to pay attention to. That's your intuition. Yeah. That's your intuition saying, something is not right. But you know what we do? We ignore that. We ignore it and say, you know what, I'm just being, too much here. I'm going to, it's not really what I'm thinking. So I don't want to, go overboard and be dramatic. So yeah. We just brush it off, right? Mm-hmm. But then we have to assess the situation. So we have to take that information in, like, what do I really believe the situation is? And in trying to process that situation, the knowledge of what's going on, so that then finally you have to make a decision. What am I going to do to protect myself in this situation? Now, did I make a scene? Did I, point at the person, or did I yell at him? Did I tell him, you need to leave me alone. You need to stop following me. I'm not interested in you. I didn't do any of that. What I did was I removed myself from the situation. So it didn't happen. And so I recognized that it could be a threat. And it really did appear to be. And especially, everywhere I looked, that's where you are. And that's weird. When you're in a large location and then somebody's just always there and kind of lingering behind you. Ladies, pay attention.
Yeah, because that happens. Very weird.
Yeah, it's very strange. And I even ran the scenario by some other ladies. And I said, would you think that this is strange? Would you think that behavior is strange? And they said, absolutely. He followed you all the way through the store. The store is very large and he's not down that aisle. He's right behind you all the time, And so, and like I said, when I reached the front of the store, that was what did it for me, because he was not checking out. It looked like he had already checked out, but then when I got in line, then he got in behind me. That's what finally did it for me. I'm like, no, this guy really is following me around. And so you have to pay attention, and then you have to make a decision on what you're going to do. I didn't confront him. I removed myself, and that's the safest thing for females to do, is to remove themselves. But when you go into a crowded place, you need to position yourself like in a restaurant. You need to know where the exits and the entrances are. You need to know how to get out if you need to get out. You need to spot danger areas. Where can somebody, hide or ambush you? You need to get a baseline for the environment. What kind of activity is going on in that location? What are people wearing? What is the conversation going on? What is the mood? And that way, once you have deemed what's normal for that environment, you can determine what would be abnormal. Somebody that's acting out of place or where.
So guys, this was an amazing interview. She went through so many different scenarios, and that particular one that she was talking about was something that personally happened to her. And so it was amazing to me, the knowledge that she had, and she was so passionate about it, just making sure that that women especially are safe. And like she said, a lot of times we tend to be distracted. Our phones are our biggest distractions. So again, she is a wonderful person to get to know. She is doing some great things with her company. It's called, again, Hedge Security Solutions. And they go in and they help you with different, like they help you to stay safe as an organization. So like daycares and stuff, they help you with keeping the kids safe. Churches who have been targets recently, which is just tragic, they help you to stay secure in schools, which we have seen just the number of schools that are under attack is just ridiculous. So again, I will post the full interview I'll post the full interview on the Spring Forward podcast page, but she is just a phenomenal woman. She is doing some great things, and I really wanted to give her her flowers tonight, to just say, keep up the good work, Michelle. Love what you're doing, and it was such a pleasure having you on the show on that day. So now, on another note, I had the pleasure of interviewing yet another phenomenal woman, Miss Brieanna Lightfoot Smith. She and I had lots of alignment in terms of mompreneuring, should we say, right? And so she is a productivity coach, and a productivity strategist. She had so many other things going. You'll see in the part of the interview that I show you guys in just a moment. She was also a part of the Goldman Sachs, the 10K in Business group. And anybody who knows about that program, first of all, you have to qualify for it. So you have to interview, like there's an application, there's an interview process, and then they may accept you, they may not. And so she got accepted. She went through the entire program, which completely changed her perspective on business. And she is doing some amazing things now, from that. So here we go. Let me show you her interview, and it'll be just a piece of it again, like with Michelle. And her interview will also be available online after. It'll be on the Spring Forward podcast page after this. It'll be there by tomorrow, hopefully. But yes, so again, bear with me, guys, because I'm the production team tonight. But take a look at what Brieanna had to say. So give me just a moment. Like I said, I'm the production team tonight, y'all. So hang tight. Okay. I think I got it. Here we go.
And it's just been so quiet around the house. And I know you understand just how golden that is, right? As a fellow mama, you're like, wow, silence. What is this?
What is this? Like, this is foreign to me because my kids were the same. They went back to school today, but they were gone. Gone by their dad in New Orleans for the Christmas break. I was like, oh, this is quiet. Like, I don't know how to act. What is this?
Seriously.
So, well, that is awesome. I want to get started and jump right in today. You know, your journey is really inspiring because a lot of it, there's a lot of alignment in what you do and in what I do. And so that was one of the reasons why I was super excited to have you on. From your roles as a business owner, a productivity coach, and a systems strategist, to your personal experience, it's really clear that you're dedicated to helping others find the clarity and confidence that they need, especially us fellow mompreneurs. And so can you share a bit more about your background and how you arrived at this unique intersection of roles?
Absolutely. And I love that you said arrived because I often feel like I stumbled into entrepreneurship. I started my first business straight out of college. So it was one of those, hey, not really sure what I want to do just yet. And I had my aunt approach me and ask if I would consider coming on and helping her nonprofit with like a monthly newsletter and designing their website. And my background is in journalism. So the newsletter part, I was like, definitely. But the website, I was like, Aunt Sandra, I have no background in this. And she just was kind of like, oh, I know you can figure it out. And I hate to admit that I proved her right. But I've never been one who like kind of back downs from a challenge, and I love learning. I'm a lifelong learner. My mom and I tease that some people's fix is getting stuff from TJ Maxx. Other people are like travel girlies. I'm the person who's going to be scrolling Black Friday for like course views and like Udemy subscriptions and Teachable and Masterclass and those kinds of things. So I always love learning. And I think that's the part of entrepreneurship that I love so much, is that it is this constant opportunity for you to learn new things, even as you feel like you're established in business. Because at this point, I've been an entrepreneur for 10 years. As I add new services to my business, or as I have a client who comes to me and maybe they're in an industry that I haven't worked with before, there's just this constant opportunity for me to learn more. And so even though I've done everything under the umbrella of marketing, from like graphic design and posters, and I've done copywriting. Now I'm moving more to like the digital production side of things with podcast production, and even helping clients with social media, which is kind of a full circle moment, because that was one of the things that I did when I first began. I think it's just been cool to see just the evolution, and even the productivity and system side came because I am a mom of three, like you said, fellow mompreneur here. And if y'all know, baby, you're not going to be doing anything for too long if you don't have some systems in place.
Let them know, okay? Because the kids, I have 4, and so you got to have your stuff in order.
Absolutely.
If you're not organized, it's not going to work.
Yeah, it's a wrap. And then you're stressed, and then I won't speak for you, Spring, but I know I get mean when I get stressed. Like, you're short-tempered. The kids are like, what's wrong with you? You're like, you don't even want them to look at you.
Exactly. Nobody benefits from that. And so it's good to have your ducks in a row and your things in place. And so along those lines, Bree, I want to talk about your role as a productivity coach, because that's like super powerful, the way that you just kind of, like you said, stumbled into entrepreneurship. But it was like one of those things where you're trying to figure out, okay, what am I going to do after school? What is it that I really like doing? I majored in journalism. What does that actually look like? And then you were kind of able to use that to create an avenue for yourself. And I really love that. And so talk to us about your role as a productivity coach, because a lot of people struggle with prioritizing. What does that look like for you? How do you determine your priorities on a daily basis?
That's a great question. I think for me, the way I love to describe being a productivity coach is kind of like being a second brain. We know we all have 50-11 ideas and thoughts that we're trying to organize. And I remember 3 years ago, one of my friends told me, she said, you're a thought organizer. She said, I can come to you and I feel all chaotic, and then we have a conversation and you're like, oh, you just need to put this here, you need to put this here, and you don't need to worry about that for like 3 more months. And then you probably need to prioritize this, right? And I really just share my own process. For me, I know, again, that it's easy to get super overwhelmed, but for something that I've noticed is if I'm just kind of tackling things from a quarterly basis, then breaking that into a monthly basis, and then breaking that down to the week, things are way more feasible for me, right? So I literally, as we're talking, I have a new planner that I got. It's this planner called, it's the Top 3 Notebook. And if any of y'all follow Erin on Demand, she is the one who came up with this Top 3 system. And it's funny because I think some of us have probably heard like, oh yeah, just start with 3 things, and that's really helpful. But I love that she breaks even her journal down to show what are the 3 things you're doing for the day. I like to look at what meetings that I've scheduled, and notice that I said I have scheduled, because that's another thing that I try to encourage people to be intentional about, is not just allowing other people to dictate what you're going to be doing and when. Obviously, we know being entrepreneurs, we have that kind of flexibility because we're our own bosses for all intents and purposes. But even if you're working in a corporate setting, you can still set specific boundaries around your time. You can let your team know, hey, my brain works best in the morning, and so I really want to set that time aside to work on projects, and we can do meetings in the afternoon. And I don't take meetings on Mondays, and I don't take meetings on Fridays, right? And those are just really helpful things. I mean, think about it. Even on Google, it's a calendar invite, meaning that it's an invitation and I can say yes or no to it. So helping people to determine those priorities is really helpful.
Yes. Oh my goodness. I love that because I think that was one of the things that I kind of struggled with at first in entrepreneurship is like my schedule was chaotic and I just couldn't understand why I had so much to do, but I wasn't getting anything done. And so once I figured that out, oh my gosh, like it was life-changing, literally. And so that's kind of the next thing that I want to talk about too, is because, finding balance is crucial. And a lot of times we, like I just said, had a hard time with doing that. And so what do you think keeps most individuals from accomplishing what they want?
I think it's not knowing what they want. As simple as that seems, people not knowing what they want keeps them from accomplishing anything.
Oh my gosh, Bree, you hit the nail on the head, right? Because that was the other thing for me, like first stepping out into entrepreneurship. It was like, I knew I wanted to be in charge of my own schedule. I knew I wanted to have time to do things with my kids, but also have that time for work when I needed to do that. But what actually was it that I was going to be working on? What did I want to do? What did I want to accomplish? And just so y'all know, I am going into year 3 of entrepreneurship, and that question constantly gets refined. Constantly. And so
no, absolutely. I think that we don't check in with ourselves enough. We that's why, you hear the whole hamster wheel, and it's very true, because I think even what you just said, we don't even allow ourselves to have that evolution. So when we start with a specific goal, if other factors around that goal change, then all of a sudden we're like, wait, hold on. I don't even know why I got into this to begin with. And then we kind of just move to being reactive to everything instead of proactive. And I think another part of it is an unwillingness to commit, either because we don't see the results as fast as we want to see, or we run into unexpected challenges, right? So I'll give you a perfect example. Last year was the hardest I've ever worked in my business. And I was feeling really frustrated because I'm like, this is the hardest I've ever worked, and this is the slowest business has ever been. And I was getting so frustrated with that. And I remember, y'all, thank God for supportive spouses and ones who will talk you off the ledge, right? Because I told my husband one day, I was like, I'm just about to drive Uber Eats. I was like, I'm just going to get Uber Eats. And he was like, why? And I said, because it's more predictable, because y'all know, if you're an entrepreneur, it's unpredictable. Even if you have people on retainer, sometimes people's budget changes. Sometimes they have things going on personally that shift the way that they need to move around in business. And he said, I think you need to be a little bit more patient with yourself. And I think you need to open up your mind to these other services that, you're like, well, no, that's not what I'm doing, or that's not what people quote unquote know me for. He's like, but you have a wealth of knowledge that you can provide to people. And it's so funny because I signed a new client within like weeks of us having that conversation. And then it was like, okay, I'm back off the edge now. It's fine. Everything's fine, right? I got a new office space, like all these things came to play, and I really feel like God was like, girl, I just needed a second. Like, you was in a rush, and I'm not in a rush. So I think that that's another piece that can kind of keep people from accomplishing their goals, because we have these timelines in our head. And I know I just talked about the quarterly and the weekly, and that's good and that's fine. But in the same way we have to allow ourselves to evolve, we have to be okay with the evolution of the process and understanding that the goals we set at one point can shift. And sometimes we set something because it sounds really good, but then when we actually start working towards that goal, we think, oh, you know what? I don't even know if I want this.
Yep. Y'all, that conversation was amazing with Bree. Again, I'm going to put up the full episode for you guys between today and tomorrow, for sure by next week, hopefully. Because again, I'm the production team these days. But I just really wanted to give y'all a snippet of the phenomenal women that I encounter each and every day as I'm podcasting, as I'm doing this. Um, I'm so thankful to have run into these women, to be able to talk to them about the things that they're doing and just the waves that they're making. And so, again, like I said, I will have this episode, the full episode for this one and the one with Michelle up within the next few days so that you guys can see the full conversation. And I'm always, always, always open to feedback. And so you guys let me know what you think. And until next time, guys, on the Spring Forward podcast.